"Hello," said the announcer. "Are you here?" he asked. "Indeed, you are here, faithfully tuned in to the Paul Leslie Hour," he continued. "Yes, you're embracing the art of listening. We have someone truly great joining us today for his second appearance on this show. Now, when we think about the greatest country singers, the ones still singing really country songs, inevitably the name Gene Watson comes up. There's just nobody who sings quite like that. It's now been more than 60 years since his debut in the music business. Gene Watson's turning 80, but is he slowing down? Ha ha! Well, he's got 80 tour dates scheduled this year in celebration of that milestone. He's also knocked it out of the park with his latest album, Outside the Box, featuring duets with Willie Nelson and Rhonda Vincent. You know, the Paul Leslie Hour is the very definition of independent media. We rely on people just like you. Simply visit www.thepaulleslie.com/support and drop a little something in the hat. Oh, you're wearing your hat. Drop a little something in the tip jar. Oh, you've got a beer in your tip jar. Well, drop a little something in, Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to hear your host, Paul E. Leslie, interview one of his absolute favorite country singers, Gene Watson. Let's listen together, the announcer concluded.
Hello?
Hey, Gene Watson, it's Paul Leslie. How are you?
I'm fine, Paul. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing just fine, thank you. So, are we ready to roll?
Yeah, I'm driving, but I don't think that'll affect my talking.
Well, it sounds good, and that's what counts.
Okay.
The last time we did an interview, we were in a noisy background. There was this noisy background. We were backstage in Bremen, Georgia. And so,
oh, yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, that place is not open anymore.
Yeah, I heard about that. But there were some good shows.
Yeah, we enjoyed playing there.
So I'm imagining you're heading towards your next gig right now?
No, I haven't. I'll leave out in the morning.
Oh, okay. So what's this like for you to be on this, your 80th birthday and then 80 tour dates this year?
Well, first off, I'm just so delighted that I've had such success at my age. There's a lot of the artists out there that you hear, and I don't have to tell you, you're aware of it too, that have really lost a step and don't, they don't sound as good as they used to, just to make it bluntly. I may not sound as good as I used to, but I think I'm still singing pretty good, and I'm just thankful that I'm able to handle it. You know what I mean?
Right.
80 years old, 80 dates. I mean, that's not an easy step. A lot of people might think it's easy in this being a life of glitz and glamour, but when you start hitting the road miles and covering the tour dates, it gets to be quite a hassle. It'll wear you down pretty quick if you're not careful.
I can imagine. So tell us, from your perspective, when you're up there on stage, having seen you up on stage, it looks to me like you're completely comfortable there. What's it like from your perspective looking out at the audience?
Well, for one thing, so much of my show is the audience, and I try to play to them just like they're the reason I'm there, so I try my best to make them as much a part of the show as I can. And actually, I never plan anything, or we don't have a written down set list, usually, unless it's something on my schedule. So most everything that I do is off the cuff. The band, half the time, they don't know what I'm going to say next, and they only know what song I'm going to do by the way I present it to the people or announce it. And so I'm about as loose as you can get. And, but it all goes back to the music. When I get through with the between song entertainment bit, I go back and I devote every ounce of my talent to making that song sound as good or better than I did the show before. I think the people deserve that, and I put a lot of stock in that.
Well, something I've noticed about your fans is you have an especially, at least from my perspective, an especially dedicated fan base. When we had you on the radio back then, I got so many emails from people, and then there have been artists who commented on it. Like, I remember talking to a rather young singer-songwriter, Randall King, and he came on and he was saying that you were actually the very first concert that he ever saw in his life. And I've just heard so many enthusiastic, passionate, somewhat emotional responses to what it is that you do.
Well, I appreciate that. Up until probably 18, 20 years ago, I was a singer, period. I got out there and I thought I had some great songs, and according to the charts and popularity, I did have. So I didn't have to lean on anything. But it seems like, I started making the shows and the personal appearances into something that was happy, something that people could enjoy, and doing things a little bit different from the way everybody else did. And I was so concerned about making, people laugh and enjoy themselves. Lord knows they've got enough to frown about, and I want them to enjoy themselves as much as I can. So I tried to help, the show by kind of putting a little input in it about how I pick my songs, where I get my songs, what was the reasoning behind it, and the outcome, of course, and all the time being completely honest and telling that those fans are the reason I picked these songs, and I picked the songs for them, songs that they can relate to, something that might have happened to them or tell their life story. And in doing that, you're going to have their undivided attention. I mean, they're going to listen, and I just hope it's in a positive manner,
Well, you're touching on something that I've wondered about. How often do you look for new songs, or would you say that it's more like the songs that you record, they kind of find you?
They do. I'm as far as looking for songs, I'm looking for songs every day, whether I'm going to go in the studio and record, in the near future or not, because a good song is a good song, and I'm always on the lookout for a good song. But so many great writers and so many new writers that's up and coming have lived with my career and know my style and know, how I go about my career. That they've gotten to where they try to write songs for me, songs that they think I would pick and record. And I'm so thankful for that. And again, I say this with the 80 years old in mind too, I know there's not going to be some of the greatest writers in the world going to pitch me one of their best songs, because let's face it, I'm probably not going to have another number one charted record, and a lot of people say I'm over the hill, and that may be in a lot of ways, but I still try to put my show forward and dedicate it to all of my fans, whether they know how old I am or not. I do the best I can and let them know that I'm doing it especially for them.
Well, your latest record, the one that's out now, Outside the Box, I've been listening to it real close, and there's a name on some of the really good songs I had not been aware of previously, but I thought, okay, this is a name to look out for. Erin Enderlin.
Yes.
Did you know that's what I was going to say?
Yes, I did. Well, I mean, you're a talented man. You know your business, and I appreciate you for that. You don't call me up and expect me to do the interview on my own. You know what to ask and everything, and I appreciate that. But Erin Enderlin is one of those writers that you don't run across every day. And she has studied me and studied the type of music I do. And I'm so proud to say that she's a huge fan of mine. and sings my songs in her show and all that. And I'm just so thrilled to have someone that's coming up to the caliber of all of these artists that's written these songs for me in the past. And she's right there. I think you can tell that by listening at what she's written.
Absolutely. So on this Outside the Box album, would you say that there was a unifying thought or an idea behind this collection of songs, something that runs through them all?
Not necessarily behind the songs, but the thought. I named the album before I ever recorded it. I wanted to go back and do some of the old songs that, like Lie to Me. That was an old song that I recorded back in the 70s. And I didn't have quite the effect I wanted when we recorded it back then. So I thought I'd go back and try to find it, in this album. And I wanted to do some more songs that most people wouldn't expect me to do. Like the first one we pulled from it was a song that I never get tired of listening at, and I'm so thankful for the song, If I Had Any Pride Left at All. That is such a soulful song, and a song that so many of my audience can identify with, even if they're, middle to older age. Everybody can identify with that song, and you just never tire from listening to it. And I think it had so much Gene Watson soul in it that I guess I inherited from my dad. He was a blues singer, blues guitar player, and harmonica player. And I just let that song breathe, and I wanted to get it across to the fans. And I think we captured it, But I didn't want to get too far away from the traditional country music that I'm known for, if you will, the dance music, the ballads, the waltzes, and all that. And like to pick out something so special as the song If She Only Knew, that is something that's happening today, that just about everybody can identify with. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So you take all those attributes, however I may have sounded putting them across, you add them all in there, and it's definitely outside the box, because a lot of people expect, well, they know when they buy something, a CD or whatever with my name on it, they know they're going to get country music, but I wanted to let them know that there's other things, in my head besides just straight 2-4-4-4 waltz, I wanted to put some deep down blues feeling into it. And like I say, I'd like to think that we captured it.
Yeah, I think you did. And it is a country music lover's kind of record. How would you define country music? There have been so many definitions through the years, from Harlan Howard, Three Chords and the Truth, the working man's music. How do you define it?
Well, I just did some of it. I think country music would be best defined by saying that it's something that you can listen to because there is a truthful thought behind it. Someone's life stories are happening from someone. You can listen to it and carry on a conversation. You can dance to it because it's usually real danceable, and it's a way of life. Country music is a way of life with me.
Well, someone who has made country music a way of life for a long time is one of your duet partners on this record. There's two duets, but we'll mention this gentleman since he's got a birthday next month. He'll be turning 90. You sang with Willie Nelson, Wonderful Future. How did that come about?
Well, if you want to know the truth, my son found that song, and it had been recorded back in the 70s on one of his albums, and I never had heard it, and I thought I had heard everything that Willie Nelson ever recorded. But my son sent me that one night over my phone, and I listened at it, and I said, wow, how did I miss that song? Well, I never figured anything would happen unless it was just me singing it solo, which I would have done. But after I found this song, just a few days after that, Paula Nelson called me. And I had never met Paula, never talked to her or anything. And she said, you're one of Dad's favorite singers. And I said, no, I didn't know that. She said, you definitely are. And said, I think he would love it if you would give him a call. And I said, well, I don't know how to call him. And she gave me the number. I called him, and he was in Hawaii. And I told him that I just got through talking to Paula, and I was going in the studio, and we talked about songs and everything. And he was so down to earth and everything. And he said one of his biggest mistakes that he thought he had made, one of his biggest regrets, and he told Paula this, he said, was he got invited to Frank Sinatra's house one night to spend some time with Frank, and he went ahead and kept on, went and got on the bus, and they went ahead on the tour. And so he missed that. And he said that was one of his biggest regrets. He said the second biggest regret was when he was invited to come over and sing with Gene Watson in the studio, and he went on out on tour, and he missed that. And he told me that himself even after Paula did. He admitted that to me. And I felt so flattered. And I said, well, and this is verbatim. I said, well, Willie, I said, one of the greatest things that could ever happen to me would be, of course, to sing with you. I said, at one time, I knew everything you had out and sung them in clubs, first one thing and another. He said, what would you want to sing? And I've got the text too when he got back with me. And after that, he said, what was you wanting to sing if you had on? And I said, Wonderful Future that you wrote and had on an album back in the 70s. He said, great. He said, I'm in. And that's all he said. So, I mean, we got his tracks together and all that. And of course, we went in the studio, and his was the first tracks I laid down on that song. And I felt so flattered that Willie would agree to sing with me. And we just got through doing the tracks on another song with him the other day, a couple of weeks ago when I was in Nashville. And I'm so thankful that that's two songs that I've got, that I've recorded with a duet with Willie. And I'm so flattered with that.
Well, Gene, just hearing this story, you've planted a big smile on my face. That's just awesome.
Well,
cool.
I was so flattered by it, Paul. And of course, working all across the country, where we work, Rhonda Vincent and I had recorded an album, and at first people didn't go for it. They wanted to buy my stuff. They didn't want to get, and vice versa. And well, finally they started listening and everybody started enjoying it. And it seemed like we'd go certain places. People would say, when are you, Rhonda Vincent, going to get back in the studio? Well, when I came with this album, I called Rhonda up. And of course, I had the song. I've got one of those too that Erin Enderlin was one of the writers on.
Yeah.
And I told her that I sure would appreciate if she'd come and sing with me. And of course she did. And I thought it came off so great. And that's two bonus tracks that we wanted to add to the project and to make it more inviting. And hopefully it did. And I appreciate, the chance to get to do this so much. And I'm kind of a laid back type guy, Paul. I don't seem like it on stage, but I don't talk a whole lot. And so when I get a chance to do something in my book that's gigantic, like recording with Willie, it's something that sticks with me, and it's something I'll never forget. It might take a lot of things away from me, but that's one of them that can't.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned the song I've Got One of Those Too that you did with Rhonda Vincent. That's one of those songs, when I heard it the first time, I just thought to myself, now that is a song,
Yeah. Yeah, it's so country,
Yeah, definitely. So it sounds like there's going to be some more recording, another Gene Watson album coming down the pike.
Yeah, I'm planning on it. Yeah. I guess a lot of people are taking bets I'm not going to make it to that 80th birthday in October, but I'm covered all bets. and recording another album is certainly in the work. I've already talked to my producer Dirk, and told him that I'd like to get back in there as quick as I can, because I don't know how long the voice is going to last. I'd sure like to get in there and do as much recording as I can. So even though I don't have a time or date set up, I'm looking for the right songs. I don't want just any songs. I want the right songs. But yeah, I'm planning on going back to the studio.
Well, we have that to look forward to. Something that you mentioned the last time we spoke that I thought that it's kind of stayed with me all this time. You told me you study people.
Yeah, that's a habit of mine.
What does that mean?
Well, I'm a straight up guy, you know. I mean, what you see is what you get, and if you don't like me today, you're not going to like me next week, you know, because I'm not really apt to change. And I watch how people act, how they perform throughout their walks of life. Not necessarily when I'm working, but a lot of people. I'm bad about not remembering names, but I always remember the moves, the actions, and the way people go about about the way they do things. And it's just something that I'm usually not wrong about. I can pretty well sum a person up by watching them for 15 minutes, you know, and tell you what kind of person that is. And a lot of times I wish I wasn't that way, but I admire watching people and the way they do things. And I try to pick songs that convey that.
Well, that's really interesting. I want everybody out there, look at GeneWatsonMusic.com, and there's dates all over the place: Tennessee, Missouri, Georgia, Texas, of course, Kentucky, all the way up to Pennsylvania, Virginia. Check it out, folks, GeneWatsonMusic.com, and also check out this Outside the Box album. My last question, what is the best thing about being Gene Watson? You've had a chance to sing duets with incredible artists like Rhonda Vincent, Willie Nelson. You've made record after record. You've gotten to sing in front of how many people? What's the best thing?
Yeah, you know, I think the best thing about Gene Watson is not necessarily a singer, but I'm a person. I'm a people person, and I treat people like I'd like to be treated, whether I'm working or in my everyday walk of life. I'm no better, and you can quote me on this anywhere. I'm no better or worse than whoever I'm talking to, and I try to convey that in every way. There's nobody works harder at what they do than I do, because every show that I play, I want to play it just a little bit better than the last one. And, you know, as many times as I've sang all those songs, you know, I mean, I dream about them and everything else. I've done them so many times, but I've got to make it a little bit better, a little bit more enjoyable than it was the show before, you know. But when it all boils down, I'm just a guy. I make my living singing, and some other guy might make his living digging a ditch. That don't make me no better than him.
Wow. Well, Gene Watson, thank you so much for spending time with us here in the hot afternoon. It's been great.
I appreciate talking to you, and of course, your wisdom, you know, of the music business just makes it so much easier to talk to you. And I appreciate you taking time out to talk to me.
Well, it's my pleasure, and I appreciate you saying that. It's very kind of you.
Well, anytime you need to talk to Gene Watson, you've got the number.
Oh, bless you. All right, sir.
All right.
Until next time.
I appreciate it, Paul. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for stopping by today. If you enjoyed our program, consider telling a friend about it. The Paul Leslie Hour is made possible through people just like you. So you want to keep the show going, right? Go to thepaulleslie.com. That's thepaulleslie.com. Click on Support the Show. And thanks to everyone who contributes. Performance of the intro music is courtesy of John Primorano, The Entertainer, written by Scott Joplin. End credit theme music is courtesy of John Primorano, the traditional song Corina Corina. Your announcer is Dan Gold. Hey, that's me. The show is hosted and produced by Paul Leslie. And we'll see you next time on the Paul Leslie Hour.